This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, the Highland Park Planet on January 7, 2026, and was posted on Borough Hall website at www.hbborough.com and on the bulletin board at 221 South Fifth Avenue on Highland Park, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Our exits are to my right and left of council chambers. Can you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome.
Mayor Foster,
Yes.
Councilmember George, Councilmember Hale,
Here.
Councilmember Hirsch,
Here.
Council President Kim Cho-Han, Councilmember Pistonik,
Here.
Councilmember Vargas, Borough Attorney Reno,
Here.
Borough Administrator Rivera,
Here.
Borough Planner Tresenza.
Here.
Discussion items tonight is the Upper Raritan Road Diet Phase 2, Cleveland Avenue redevelopment plan, Sunoco adjacent property redevelopment plan, ordinance prohibiting tobacco display. No formal action will be taken. We are going to talk about Upper Raritan. Terry?
Mayor, thanks.
Both of us.
I guess it's both of us.
Both of us.
But at the mayor's strong encouragement, I reached out to our government liaison at DOT. We implemented what we're calling loosely the first phase of the road diet, which was essentially the work in between the curbs on the surface of the roadway, where we established a single lane direction with a center turn lane and bike lanes on either side. So we wanted to find out kind of where we are on the rest, because the additional part is from the curb to the extent of the DOT right of way, which would include driveways, ADA curb cuts, any additional crossings, signage, etc. So
I'm even pushing for a light.
Well, you and
Pushing,
many of our
pushing,
residents,
pushing.
an additional light, I strongly suspect that will be phase 7 of this project, but I don't disagree with the spirit of it. But as far as the existing, so basically what they'd be doing is bringing up to ADA standards all the corners, looking at all the individual driveway curb cuts, of which there are many, shrinking them if possible, but certainly, trying to kind of rectify some of the pedestrian experience as well as the signage on the road. Unfortunately, that phase is going to take longer, and there is some good reason for it. I know this just from my limited experience on the Woodbridge Avenue project. They have to get right of entry agreements for pretty much all the private properties, of which there are many small private properties along the way. And they have a lot more engineering work to do with respect to surveying and right of way and so forth, because they're going to be redoing sidewalks and it's hardscaping as opposed to asphalt and striping. So it is a lot more. I mean, it is disappointing, but I'm just reading from the last communication that I got, where essentially we are still in the concept development phase for that portion project. These are terms that the DOT uses. The next thing will be a road diet maintenance work order that, once finished, will be reconvening all of their experts to review that plan and that work order. And that's internal to DOT. That's what they're referring to. Once it graduates from the concept development phase, there will be a consultant. The design phase will begin, but they're going to select a consultant to do that design work. So we're still in the conceptual within the DOT staff, and then they'll bring on an engineering firm that will do the actual design that will get implemented. So let me just cut to the chase. Basically, preliminary design phase will complete by spring of 2028. Okay. and that completion for finals design projected for spring 2030.
30.
So obviously we can have a conversation. We have new folks in the DOT now than when we first got this project approved. And actually that was also an interim. We had several commissioners we've been dealing with over the years, but just to get a reality check, that phase of the project, even if with significant advocacy on our part, is going to take some time. What I will leave you before we go, I want to share a really nice anecdote I learned. I visited the mayor's teen advisory committee, and I got lots of questions about things we don't control, like Route 27 and Woodbridge Avenue. But one of the teens asked me about who's responsible for snow plowing on there. And he was asking because he was disappointed that they didn't plow all the way to the curb, because he rides his bike to school at the high school almost every day on our new road diet. And he said how much better it is.
Wow.
And I will share with you, I was in a meeting with a bunch of the realtors for looking at the zoning in the downtown districts, and there's a realtor who is in Edison, lives in outer Highland Park, in that part of Edison, and she was saying effusive about how much better. So I'm starting to hear, as people get used to it, I'm getting some good feedback on the roadway. So I just thought I'd share that and enjoy that victory while we have to kind of deal with this somewhat disappointing information about the next phase of the project. So we'll certainly follow up, but I just wanted to, I know the mayor wanted everybody to be on
Yes,
real about how long
yes.
it might take to get the remainder of the project complete. But we're in the pipeline.
I'm planning to have a meeting with the new commissioner and to, keep us in Highland Park at the forefront of their consideration. So if there's anything that can be moved quicker, they keep us in mind, and just every once in a while send a little note. Just saying, hey, we're still here, we're still waiting. Let's, see if we can move up in the pipeline. But I think 2028, but we can hope, we can dream. Technology's moving along, so maybe technology may get caught up with the state and we can get something done sooner. I also had a meeting last week with someone who does not live in Highland Park, but drive through Highland Park a lot, and they were raving about the new patterns. They absolutely love it. They said they have to drive through Highland Park, and it's the best thing that we've ever did. So I'm getting a lot of good feedback now on what we did in Upper Raritan, the road diet. So I'll keep everyone up to date. I'll probably put a little blurb out about where we are in the phases, and just so people know, because that's going to be a question. Councilmember Hill?
I'm just anticipating another question, since it's in the concept phase for the end part. Is there a plan to produce a concept design at some point to release to the public, to have the comment, like they did comments?
I'll find out. I don't know if we have to
We'll
do
find
the
out in
information
2028.
session like we did before, or if that's checked off, because I think that was a pretty high level one,
Right.
and it included
I think
all of it. And
think it
so
included
I
everything.
don't think they're gonna, they think that that's required at this point. We could, if we think it's important, we could see about something we could request.
Mine would be 2035.
Exactly. So I was trying, I think we will certainly.
That's why I want to be friends with
What
the
I would
commissioner.
suggest is, as we get the stuff, we're gonna be involved, I'm sure, in those kind of plans. And I'm sure they will share them with us, and we can share them internally and externally as appropriate. Again, I think they're gonna be very technical.
Yes.
We're not talking about, should we have a center turn lane? It's gonna be like, how many feet over and what angle, because the ADA crossings,
Right.
you have to make sure you have a certain, you might have to go back 5 squares of sidewalk to get the ramp, dimension you need and the angles you need. It's stuff like that. It will be very important to some of those property owners.
Yes.
But I think they're gonna do those right of way and right of access agreements. That's how we'll have those conversations with those property owners to discuss issues as they come up. I know we had concerns about some sightline issues, so maybe that's where we could address those.
We had spoken about that
Yeah,
before.
if there's
We'll
something in the
continue that
way.
conversation.
But again, I think that's why it's time consuming, because you gotta go, unless,
Each person.
like the road, they can go, okay, here's how the stripes are gonna work. They're gonna have to go property by property to
Mhm,
figure out, what's gotta change to make it compliant with current regulations. So it's gonna take time. But aren't we glad we pushed for that expedited implementation? Because we might have been
Yes.
waiting until 2030 to get
Probably
just get the
2020.
paint on the road.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Mhm.
Councilmember Burgess?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I do appreciate that there was a lot of advocacy done to move up that first phase
Mhm.
because I also drive through there quite a bit and I see the difference and I appreciate
Oh,
it.
that's great to hear.
So I really
Mhm.
appreciate it. Have we had any feedback as to whether there have been any incidents or anything? Because I know that was part of why we're doing this. Have we had any?
Since the new-
Since this phase one, have we had like any?
I can follow up with the chief
Yeah,
and see if there's
just-
any incident that
It's mostly
happened.
been anecdotal, but that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's.
I think it's great. I mean,
And certainly maybe with a year, we certainly want to do a
Right.
look back with a decent
yeah,
amount
it
of
would be
time.
nice to compare, just so
Mhm.
that at least to show the public that, look, I know it's phase two is a long way from now, but phase one has really helped
That's a good
to,
idea.
Yeah, that's a
to
great.
keep everybody safe.
Any other questions on this? We'll try to put something out and keep everybody posted as much as we can. As the plan changes or grow, or we get more good news.
And I'll iron out that timeline a little more for you so you can, because as I was reading that out loud, I'm like, what? Thought I knew what it meant.
Look, it took 12 years to get the light done coming into town on Duclos Lane, okay? 12 years. That was my project. It took 12 years. And we used to be an accident at least twice a week or 3 times a week. There was an accident right there. It paid off. All righty. Next one, we're gonna go. Any other more questions? No. Okay, we hop over to Cleveland Avenue. Redevelopment plans.
So yes, this might sound familiar because in fact, the Borough Council, I think almost 3+ years ago,
Yeah.
authorized us to begin work on a redevelopment plan for Cleveland Avenue. That plan was authorized from a budget that goes back 2 years, so the money can't be touched. You know, it's one of those rules with the finance. So we've been discussing picking that plan back up. As a reminder, the parcels we'd be looking at are basically, Chris, help me out, what's the best way to say, basically from across the street from American Properties where the last of the single family homes was put in, all the way down to the end of Cleveland Avenue, as well as on the other side, picking up from American Properties to the end of Cleveland Avenue and taking a look at it. But Chris, I mean, you put the proposal together, so maybe you could just walk through kind of the scope that we were looking to do and just kind of remind everybody and see if we have any questions. you know.
Sure. I'll start with the location first. If you
Yeah.
are correct. So on the south side, it would be basically the vacant lots straddling the catwalk all the way to the chocolate factory across the street to Madison, including the house, and then the remaining properties all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac. And then on the north side, it's basically the office buildings sort of in front of the Heritage at Highland Park, American Properties, and up to the girls' school. Sort of anything that has been touched for the past 10, 15 years. I think we're mainly looking at this as a rezoning strategy, since there's really no concept plan that's developer driven, which is the same thing we said 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've been focusing most of our efforts
Yeah.
downtown. But I think time is right, and we've gotten some feedback that with the permitted use as well, some feedback on concept plans, and this proposal will include a bucket for us to kind of test out, see what looks and feels right, as well as a neighborhood or a community meeting. It's something we still need to flesh out, but there's a bucket set aside for a community meeting before we dive into the redevelopment plan. Do we want to get into the types of uses?
No, I think I just wanted to make sure everybody was
Nice
aware.
overview.
We were gonna look to get this authorized at an upcoming council meeting, so I just didn't want to surprise
And then
anybody.
Norma wasn't here when this phase was going through, so that's why I thought it was
Right.
important that
Yeah.
we do a refresher and bring everybody up to speed, so you have an opportunity.
And we
to-
are gonna look at,
Jason, you were here.
No.
Yeah, I was here. He was
Yeah,
here.
Jason was here. Jason
First
was
year.
Yeah, it was first year, yeah. Because it's like 3 years ago.
yeah,
Okay,
and so it's gonna seem like, where is this coming from? It's
Right.
actually a moldy idea that we're finally gonna get to, because
Freshen it
we
back up.
think that there's some, we know there's some zoning conflicts in that area. We've heard from, for example, Burn Chocolate is not a permitted use in that zone where it is. So we don't have a problem with that. So we want to right those kind of problems, as well as try to anticipate if there was going to be change specifically on the large properties nearby, what kind of uses we'd want to entertain, including the potential for residential uses over there. So we'll be exploring that. We'll have community outreach once we've kind of got a concept to share that we're all comfortable with. And then we'll refine it and hopefully get this one over the finish line this calendar year.
Any questions?
It seems like yesterday that we did this, so this is all really cool, but I guess like what are we anticipating at this point, if it's just a kind of a zoning, strategy? Are we anticipating, I mean, obviously we want zoning uniformity, but is there, trying to say,
What kind of permitted use you would like to see?
Permitted uses, but are we anticipating future development that, we're that we want to make sure is contoured to new zoning, or I don't know what I'm trying to ask.
I think when the former mayor was here, there was an idea that they wanted us to have like a mixed use with some office spaces.
Yeah.
I think where we are in today's society, not a lot of need for office spaces. I don't think it would do us a lot of good to create a lot of office spaces in that area. It seems it's gearing towards more residential, and maybe have residential, maybe a cafe or something where people have more.
Some small retail that
Yes,
services
small
the neighborhood.
retail that would service that growing community over there. But I don't think at this point that office spaces are the thing that attracts people right now, especially when so many people work from home, especially when AI is taking over everybody's job. Okay,
Just
Councilmember Hill.
one of the things that we had thrown out possibility is things like destination places or educational places. So like a testing center for Kumon, or something that would bring people from the neighborhood in along with some residential. So, like a after school tutoring program for kids, or some educational supplements that could be offered over there. We thought that might be something that could be attractive along with retail. But again, I think the goal of getting the blocks in place is to try and have as much flexibility as we can to attract what is available. And so not just locking it into office space, which, as the mayor said, was sort of the original idea, to try and have it a little bit more expansive about some of the possibilities that could be there, so we could test the market to see what might be out there. Thank you.
And we'd be reaching out to key property owners in the area, the
Yes.
large property that we've that is kind of probably our largest property owned by one entity.
Right.
3 acres
We have
in
had
that
some
area.
conversations.
We've
with
already
them
had
too.
conversations with them. We want to reach out again
Mhm.
to Burn to hear about their experiences, to make sure if there's uses that may be appealing that aren't currently permitted, that similar to what we're doing in the commercial
Right.
and CBD zones, do a similar kind of assessment, because we wouldn't want it, if we know they're looking to retire, so we want to make something successful happen there. So we want to learn from their experience, in that space. So they'll be an important stakeholder, the
Because they want to
larger
have a
property
say-so
owners
in
in
the
the area,
project.
as we build the recommendations.
They expressed to us that they've been here over 100 years, so they definitely want to be a part of some kind of process that.
Yeah, I would
Chris?
add that when we talk about the non-residential uses, it'd be probably more in tune to like a corner store, really concentrated to a node, so it serves the local neighborhood. And I know we did talk about some sort of really small green spaces that neighborhood seems to be park starter.
Yes, yes.
And then I know we heard from the public about the desire for housing that's for sale,
Mhm.
and that might influence some of the housing types that we would.
Yeah, we can't say it has to be for sale units. We might try to encourage housing types that tend to be that. So those are all things that are in the hopper. But again, it's not, it's going to be as prescriptive as much as it's like, these are the kinds of things we'd be open to in that area. So Fortunately, Chris did a lot of work under the previous contract, so a lot of the analysis and what's already there has been done. So it's really going to be honing in on what our vision is for the remainder of that corridor. In light of the fact of the change that's happened there over the last, 10 years.
10, 15 years, yeah.
And I think the biggest changes since we started doing that work is
The
schools.
school.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then the ambulatory business is now 7 single-family homes. That's sort of the biggest change to Cleveland Avenue,
Mhm.
as well as the sidewalk improvements
Yes.
on Madison.
Any questions? Okay, all right, we go move on to the next one. The Nelco and adjacent properties.
Well, this one's exciting. As you all will recall, we did an area in need of redevelopment with condemnation study for the Sunoco, the property along South Second, excuse
Yes.
me, otherwise known as
BBB.
BBB, we all call, as well as the 2 houses next to the Sunoco, which was actually what we call track B in our downtown redevelopment plan.
Mhm.
The purpose being to try to encourage a consolidated redevelopment, because those 3 properties alone have a lot of challenges, but together we had started studying kind of what could they do together. So now, having done the study last year, we would like to authorize the creation of a redevelopment plan that would kind of set forth a vision for what we would like to happen there. The one thing we wanted to talk about, and it's kind of looking at Chris's proposal for the plan, kind of the elephant in the room, for lack of a better term, was the 2 properties next to the track B properties right along Raritan, one of which is the Highland Park Service Center, and then the house that also has Murray Restaurant. The question became, should we include that in our redevelopment plan? Again, I'm not talking about an area in need with condemnation study. I'm just talking about a study of the planning options that might make sense to include those 2 properties. The primary reason being the service center with all those parked cars and kind of how it touches Park Place right at where these other
It's on a
properties,
weird angle.
that to not at least look at what the planning framework might be. We wanted to make that, Chris and I are making that recommendation that we include those properties in the plan, just so that we have identified some alternatives should those properties change ownership in the future, and a redevelopment be possible. Mayor, do you want to talk
Yes.
about our meeting? Did you
Yes,
wanna,
in the interim, we met with Amore Venezuelan restaurant, because if we're gonna have a conversation, I strongly believe that he should be in the conversation, not on the menu, but at the table.
Nice play on words.
So Terry and I met with him about 2 weeks
weeks
ago,
ago,
a few
yeah.
weeks ago.
Pre-snow.
Yeah, pre-snow. Oh my God, memories are so bad. Yeah, pre-snow. It so happens that he's a contractor
An architect.
and an architect, I should say. And he works in Jersey City on those big projects that they have over there. And he understood immediately what's happening, why we needed was to have the conversation. And we wanted to let him know that although I call them the LLC boys are doing that piece and it's in need of its area in need of we wanted was to have a conversation with him and to see what any thoughts, plans that he may have. Because one of the things, we don't want to take a beloved institution and lose that. And there would be a lot of moving pieces if he stays, and where would he go? And does he come back? Would he lose clientele? There's all these other questions that percolated to the surface. So we had a conversation with him. He's aware of what we are trying to accomplish. He understands it because that's his line of work too. So I think whatever decisions that's going to be, he's going to explore opportunities. He can't afford to buy the property now, but he was going to have some conversation with the owner to see how they could work something out, if that's a possibility, or if not, then he would try something, but he doesn't have the cash to come up with making the purchase for the property, but we want to keep him in the conversation at all times. And before anyone says we're putting them out, we want to let you guys know we did have a very, very good meeting with him. And, you know, he understands what the goals and what we're trying to do. And we always want to have him at the table, have a part of the conversation, decision making as we move forward.
So that's, you know, again, we have a proposal drafted from LRK and Chris, and we'd like to, at a future meeting, get authorization to move ahead, but we're recommending, and it's a little different than we initially thought, that we at least study. We might also consider alternatives where the corner is one project and
Yes, could
the
be.
other ones, you know, there might be some other scenarios that we can kind of put forward in the plan, so it's not just all or nothing. And that we've done that before, you know, in other studies that we've done. So I could see something like that similar, because we also don't want something so big that nothing happens. So it'd be nice to be able to at least get that corner, which is the primary goal, is get those vacant properties
Yes.
put it into
Yes.
good use in our town, in a prominent location right next to our first probably large scale redevelopment on Track C. Like there's
Should we
a
just
lot-
complement that
Yeah.
part of the
So
project?
just to
well?
get, but we gotta start with the plan,
Mhm.
because, and then we can negotiate from there with the parties involved.
Any questions?
Is it also including the Me Too, the bubble shop and
No,
the flower?
we're
Not that
proposing
further
kind of
down.
stopping
No,
where
yeah,
the
not
kosher,
further.
there's the new kosher grill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was
Garage.
put in
Right.
and renovated recently.
Mhm.
And the reason mainly being is that there's this kind of strange access easement in the back that ties
Yeah.
into Park
Okay.
Place, and we've gotten complaints over the years
Mhm.
about how that works, and so we think it kind of makes sense as a package. Believe you me, there's plenty of work to be done as you head closer to New Brunswick on that same block, so I'm by no means picking on any one particular set of property, but since we were so focused on the
On the
Sunoco and
Sunoco piece.
adjacent, it just seems like we might be being a little
You
short-sighted
see,
if we
yeah,
don't
we
at
didn't
least
step a
think
little
about
further.
if those properties were to change, what would we want to encourage? Again, you know, I wish Murray was in some other location, so it would be, because none of us want them.
No, yeah, none of
you
us,
know,
but
but I-
Renee understands it too,
Yes,
you know, and he definitely understands. We're gonna do a follow-up with him and conversations
We
because
wanted to have
were
this
given some
conversation.
with
and
you
then-
guys first, and then we can go back and have another conversation with him as to where did he shake anything, or, you know, what's going on, and just have a quick follow-up with him again.
Mhm.
That's great that you've had those meetings. I think having him in the conversation is not just important for moving forward, it's also letting whatever happens there know that this is important to us as well. And I think that's important. And then just as Terry said, that this section of it is without
Mhm.
condemnation power, so it's not that we're taking anything, you know, along
Yes.
those lines. And I think, again,
Mhm.
if we didn't do this, we'd have a donor hole problem, which we have in other places. And so I think this is a good strategy to take it out that way.
And he understands it because he analyzed it. It's like baking a cake. And I was like, I never thought. He said, when you're baking a cake, you make all the ingredients. Small cake, big cake. It's like baking a cake. You got to do the same ingredients. And he went through the process, and I was like, okay, I got it now. But the important thing is that we're having the conversation with him. He understands the concept. They've worked hard on building the business there. It's very successful. We don't want them to get hurt in any whatever decision is made. We want them to remain here in town and continue to be a success.
And the last thing I would just mention, if you don't mind, is that, you know, the property owner could just sell the property any day, and we'd rather have a little more
Yeah.
of a vision for what it
Mhm.
might become. So,
Yeah.
you know, anywho. All right, so you'll see that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I saw your hand up. I
Sure.
wasn't sure.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, James.
Oh, if you were midpoint. like-
No, I was just babbling, so
Oh.
you saved me.
Well, I was just going to say something that I continue to hear pretty regularly is what an eyesore Sunoco is. So anything that we can do to move it forward, I think is helpful. And I think because it is such a valued business, one that I personally love myself, that we're doing this outreach to, you know, try to, you know, not that it's necessarily going to even come to it, but if it does, like we've done everything we can proactively to maybe help retain them in town in some shape or form. So, but don't
Absolutely.
get ahead of myself, but just to reemphasize the point that this is still, I think, on a lot of people's minds, is like something that truly needs improving in our downtown. Oh, but one question that I did have was if it does come to them needing to relocate, is there relocation assistance that can be provided as part of redevelopment?
I believe that would be something.
It's required.
Yeah, like that the
It's going down
Dayton
our program.
law provides for, but again, it's not without its challenges, but yeah.
And after we had this initial conversation tonight, we said that we would follow up. We're not gonna just have this one-off.
Mhm.
We'll follow up and see what, any conversations that he had that could help him or us in the process. So we're gonna do another follow-up with him. Any additional questions? Yes.
I just have a comment. I know we want to include that property, the Limeray, but
Which one?
Limeray's,
Okay.
my personal preference would be just whatever we can get done now, like if it's a smaller project, instead of taking, like, like Jason mentioned, it's very important for us to just get something done there as soon as possible, even if it's smaller than taking up the, you know what I mean? Like, instead of
Right. And the
including
plan
that.
doesn't preclude that in any
Right.
way.
Okay, good, yeah.
Yeah,
so
maybe
that-
we didn't explain that
Yeah,
properly.
so but the idea would be, let's put it this way. Is it conceivable that those three partners would want to purchase that property of their own, which they're entitled to in the
Right.
public?
Mhm.
Yeah. So if they did, wouldn't we want to know how that should all
Right,
come together?
right.
Or, what if the property owner wants to
To
redevelop it
develop
themselves?
and
Like
purchase
how,
and
we want the
redevelop.
two things to
Got it.
relate and just because they are right on top of each other.
Mhm.
The edge of the one property and the other are right on top of each other. I just think we're gonna wish we had at least studied it, so that we had an idea of what would be feasible. And the neighbors too, because we had a lot of engaged neighbors when
On
we
Park
first
Place,
talked about
yeah.
it. And I think they're gonna wanna talk about that and how that might all work. So better to have that in a bigger context, have a bigger context. But I am 100%, I know there are ways to develop it because we studied it enough without those properties. But I just feel like we would just be having the whole conversation again in 3 years,
Yeah,
wishing we had thought about it in a
Yeah.
bigger
Mhm.
context. So that's where I landed, and that's why we wanted to make
Yeah.
that recommendation to you guys.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. Alrighty, and now we go to tobacco prohibited. That's right.
Okay, so thank you for putting this on the agenda for tonight. This was an issue that I've been discussing with the Board of Health and one that they were interested in pursuing. But the bottom line here, and it's something that's relatively straightforward, is that we just wanted to limit generally prohibit the display of tobacco products and electronic smoking device products from just being in the exterior window of the business. So as so that it's not too heavily promoted, it's certainly, a health concern. There's also concerns that, placing all those kinds of objects in a window that's readily visible by everyone, including children, it could make them a little bit more interested and get, draws
Like the
it draws attention to
paraphernalia kind of stuff. too.
paraphernalia in particular, something that might catch children's eyes, and certainly it's a matter of public health. We don't want to, it's better to tamp down promotion of smoking for obvious health reasons. So that is what we're looking to do here. This ordinance just very simply says that certainly, businesses are welcome to sell these products in town, but maybe just don't have it all up in the front window for the whole, to be displayed for the entire public to see. That's really it in a nutshell.
Any
I don't
questions?
think there's anything else to this draft ordinance that missing. But,
And you do
please
have,
chime in.
I apologize, I didn't hit send quickly enough on the draft, but it's a one pager pretty much. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory.
Right, and we've discussed this ordinance at both the Health and Human Services Committee and Economic Development Committees, and everyone seemed on board with the general.
Okay, so it came out of all the committees.
It came out of both committees, and
Mhm.
people were generally supportive.
Any questions?
Finance, right?
Did it go to finance? Oh, I wasn't there for
We're talking
that.
about finance?
No, that was his committee.
That was your, that was your committee.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
that was
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah, yeah.
Councilmember Hale?
The disorderly conduct, I assume there's a attached fine to that. Is that something that would be in an ordinance, or is that something?
Well, that's certainly more of an Aaron question, but I do feel like this looks like this was adding on to a list of existing sort of prohibitions. So this would just attach to sort of normal penalties that apply to this grouping of.
Yeah, the answer to that question, I know it's going to sound kind of strange, is where it was currently in the code was in chapter 165 disorderly conduct, and article 3 under that is the retail sale of tobacco and electronic smoking devices. So why it was placed there initially, where I can't quite answer to that. We edited the article where it was. And so the only thing we really did is we created a new 165-10, and then we edited, the old 165-10 was the violations and penalties and then enforcement. So we just moved those down.
Okay.
We just kind of let it stay where it was. And
So there are existing penalties there. It's nice.
There are, yeah.
Fine, there's actually money attached to it.
Yeah, if you go, so for a lot of the items in your code, you go to chapter 1, article 3 is a generic set of enforcement.
Okay.
And that gives you that range of, a fine not to, a minimum of $250 or whatever it is. That it kind of all outlines it. Most of your code routes back to the same violation section.
Okay.
Hope that answers the question.
Any additional questions?
Question, I'm sorry, Mayor. I haven't seen the draft ordinance yet. But what types of, and I think this came up in your committee too, is that what types of products are we talking about as far as display? Are we looking at the cannabis retail model where they have to have a kind of a visible entrance before you actually get to the product showroom floor? Or I guess what types of products are some of these retailers allowed to do? Because in many cases the glassware is an art that some people find valuable and just and displayable. So I think that's along the lines of what I was thinking of. Like, what would they be able to? Would it be limited to basically what we see from the cannabis retailers?
So effectively, the way
You
that
can't see anything from the cannabis retailer because it's all covered.
Well, that's right, because that's the law.
Yeah,
But
so
I'm
this effectively
I'm
says if
saying-
you're standing on the exterior of the building and you look in, you shouldn't be able to see any, and
There shouldn't be
specifically
a bomb in
limits,
the window.
yeah, no tobacco
that's what he's
products,
saying.
paraphernalia, electronics, like you shouldn't be able to see them from the window when you're standing on the outside.
Right.
I'm not naive, so if somebody goes and they press their face up against the window and they look inside the store, they're gonna see at some point something, right? I mean, there's gonna be a pack of cigarettes somewhere, whatever. We're not gonna, the intention isn't to police that kind of activity. I think it's just when you're coming down generically, you're not seeing, everything from, e-cigarettes and
Big
pipes
old
and
bong in the
whatever,
window.
I get the big old bong aspect, the kind of colloquial aspect of it, but I'm just saying it's like the law.
So you're saying
requires-
it's art?
Well, no,
Some of it
I'm
is
saying the
art.
law requires that you can't see, the state law requires that you can't see cannabis products sold in state-approved cannabis retailers. But bongs are not illegal and glassware is not illegal. And that's kind of what I'm trying to contend with.
This will probably fall under those would fall under the paraphernalia. Inevitably.
Yeah,
So
so
that's-
hookahs and stuff
Mhm.
too. Yeah, so that's all the things that they display.
Little stuff.
Sorry?
Two things. One, I think that
Arts
from
Commission,
the
maybe Arts
conversation I
Commission
had
can.
it was the idea, and maybe we have to think about language that maybe articulates this point a little better, was the idea that the window would just be basically paraphernalia display, because you do see that in some of these shops, not all. And there's other ones that don't do that. Because a lot of them, they may be artistic, but a lot of them are often like, I saw one, it was like a Baby Yoda that, clearly is kind of a kid-friendly, and they're not all that way. You're right. Some of them are just like really intricate, glass designs. So the thought was getting it out of that kind of right in your face front window. I don't think, at least in my conversations, the intention was to have the level of screen that the cannabis businesses have to, but I don't know if that's going to be too hard to enforce, to your point. So something to think about. But the one thing we did take out of this draft that was based on I believe the conversation at the Health and Human, was that advertising displays were initially included, and that was removed because those would have had to, if it was like, I keep using like Juul as the I see those ads in windows, those meet federal guidelines not to market to children. And so that the idea is those have already been kind of screened, these formal advertising. So that is not in this draft, which is the only change since the one that the Health and Human looked at. But I don't know, Aaron, if I had your similar practical view of how this was. It was just like, it shouldn't just be a shelf with a bunch of paraphernalia on it as the window display, but I don't want to get into these things. Well, I could see it when I turned around the corner. Like, I don't want Scott having to navigate, our code enforcement having to navigate that question. So I want to make sure it was, manageable.
Before you ask your question, you said this went through committees, right?
Yes.
None of these questions came up in committee?
Some of they were debated, so we discussed it, but I think we decided in Health and Human Services with respect to just, there was originally language in here that would ban advertising of these kinds of products. And we decided maybe that was going a bit too far and that wasn't necessary. So we pulled that out, but that beyond that we were still generally satisfied. If, maybe not probably perfect in everyone's mind, but I think we're okay with moving it forward. But let me know if I have that wrong, or at least the majority of the committees in both.
No, we all agree. Yeah, we all agreed to.
Oh, you're in the committee too?
Yeah.
I didn't know
we did,
that.
but we hadn't seen the ordinance, and I think we left it saying that, we would, also workshop, whatever it is that was put in front of us.
Yeah, I think you raised it. So what I was raising my hand to say was similar to Terry's point. And I think you're right with this continued workshop. I think you raised some good points that, we certainly aren't trying to be overly prescriptive here. So maybe instead of having language that speaks to just being visible, like at all, like even theoretically visible from the exterior of the establishment, we just are very specific that we're just talking about the exterior window. So it's not like if there's some other displays in the back and you can see through the window, but it's not all up in everyone's face, for lack of a better term. We could try to tighten it up that way. And, there's no requirement in here, at least in terms of screening the windows or anything. So I think at least that's covered, but I think we could I think it'd be okay to narrow it so that it's just talking about the exterior window.
The
I don't
front
think it's go
window.
quite as.
Display window.
Display window,
Yeah,
that's the term
I don't know.
that it's used for.
Exterior window is like.
No, the display
Yeah,
window.
I knew what you meant, but I was just thinking.
Okay, Councilmember Hale?
Just want to make sure they can sell Baby Yoda bongs in the
Yeah,
back room. You
yeah.
just can't put Baby Yoda bongs on the front window.
Yeah, because that'll be like kind of
They
advertising to
put it on the
kids.
back counter.
Right,
Once
okay.
you
I
walk
just,
in.
Oh, once you walk in?
And we don't
We're
want
not-
to.
You just
We're
can't
not-
see it from the street.
We're not regulating the
Right,
product.
we're not
we're just-
regulating the product, we're regulating the display.
The
on the
displays.
front, right? I just wanted to make sure I was understood that correctly.
Okay. Councilmember Hirsch?
Thank you. No, I'm just more, obviously storefronts are very important in our downtown. We have a problem with too many being covered up. There was a smoke shop, that existed, on the avenue that used to, very nice man, but he used to just put up Post-its and colorful pieces of paper all over the window, and it was just terrible. What are you doing? So I think, with this, it does seem like there could be some guidance to prospective retailers on how to situate their display, what they can put in, because if they can't showcase, as a retailer, these pieces that we're discussing are their prized, inventory. So what can they put in the window? Because obviously it can't be marketing, messaging to the public, but it would need to be something that's appealing to passersby on the avenue, not just, shoppers, but just for the beautification of the avenue. That's all.
But what else do they sell?
I don't know what else they sell. That's the problem. I know.
It's
It's
not stuff they can display.
I mean, it's kind of a catch-22, right? It's a smoke shop. So chances are, if you're going there,
You're going
probably
slow.
going for specific products that that they already have, right? So you're going for an e-cigarette or to get regular cigarettes or cigars or you know what I'm saying? So I would venture to say that the vast majority of the people who are going to those locations are purposely going to those locations for something specific. This, the way that I read it, I also help write it, so let's take that into consideration is, again, when I'm standing on the outside, so long as I can't readily see it from the exterior, what you put on the inside, the displays, how beautiful you want to do them, whatever, we're not affecting that at all. If you think that the language here is either too vague or too restrictive or whatever, it hasn't gone to, it hasn't been introduced yet. So we still have an opportunity to amend it that language needs to be cleaned up a little bit more to make it more specific, less specific, however you want to do it, you have some options there. But I think the purpose of it, based on we're kind of on the same page, is when you're walking downtown, big, gorgeous glass window, store name, wonderful. They just didn't want to see all the odd products as you were walking downtown, just getting in the face.
Stuff against the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
So, but we could even sit there and say it's got to be a certain amount of footage back if you want to do something more specific. You know what I'm saying? Like you can clarify it if you feel like that's the case. It's purely to the council's discretion at that point.
Sure, so we can continue to have some discussions about tweaking the ordinance and then bring it back to committee if we feel.
Well, maybe you should take it back to committee again and look at these suggestions that were made and then bring it back.
And my only caveat is that if we introduce it in this manner and then we go to amend it, because effectively we're saying, how do you display things? And we'd be making an amendment to that. It would be substantive. So then at that point, we'd have to pull the ordinance, amend it, and then reintroduce it.
And that's why I'm
And it would just start
suggesting
the
that they
whole
take it
process
back
over
into
again.
committee and
Oh,
get the
no, I'm
question
sorry.
answered.
I may have misunderstood. Yeah, I was just saying that we take
You
another
guys
stab
take
at
it back.
drafting like a draft.
Yeah.
And then we take that back to committee. But yeah, not adopting anything.
No,
No,
I
I'm saying
wasn't
if this
thinking
was-
of putting it on, just
Yeah.
you guys go work on it some more.
Yeah,
Get those questions that were thrown out there answered.
I might just need a better picture. Yeah, that's fine.
let me know how
Because
I can
you
be of
both are on the
assistance.
committee, so you guys need to work it out. No, I'm sorry?
I was just saying, I thought this language was clear for what it's worth, but I think it's good.
I think
to
it more or
go back.
less gets the job done.
It
But I
is
think-
clear. I just
could,
worry
uh,
that, I'm sorry, Jason.
No, that's okay. I think we can refine
We
it a
should go
bit
back to
further.
committee.
Take it back to committee.
I always get nervous when I write something that it's clear to me because I knew what I was trying to do when I wrote it. You know what I'm saying? So
I think we all have
Happy-
that
happy to
problem,
tell us
because
I know
like,
how
it's crystal clear in my head.
Yeah. Like, all right, that happens to me every day.
I'm always like, it's clear in my head. But I think you guys need to go back to committee and discuss some more and then bring it back to another work session.
Okay.
Okay? Yes, Nora?
Okay, just one more comment regarding the A section. I think it would be fine if we just say as part of a window display, perhaps that would would bring more clarity as opposed to saying the product shall be displayed in such a manner as to be visible from the exterior of the establishment. I don't know, whatever legalese you want to use, but as part of a window display setup, because that's very clear. Like, yeah, you can't have it as a window display, which means it's pressed up against the window when, it's not like Robert's Full Rose has a beautiful window display, right? Everybody knows what that is, but I agree with some of these smoke shops that we did have in town. It was right at the window. It was very much at the window. So you were able to see all of their products as soon as you looked, and it wasn't like in the back. So perhaps that's just my suggestion. I'm not in the committee, so you guys discuss.
Yeah, I would just say I totally agree. I think that's the direction that we're heading in, and then we just may make a couple of additional tweaks, but no.
Yeah, bring it back to committee, get it baked, and then bring it back to us.
Wonderful.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Now we move to public discussion. 3 minutes per speaker. Members attending by, there's no one in public, so anyone on Zoom?
Yeah, we do, Mayor. We have two attendees. First up, Alyssa Kaplan. Can you state your name, confirm it's you?
Hi, I'm Alyssa Kaplan. And I live on Madison Avenue. We live on Madison Avenue, next door to Burn Chocolate. I can't talk and see you at the same time somehow. Are you still hearing me?
Yes,
Yes,
we're
we do.
hearing you fine.
Okay. So about the Cleveland redevelopment, which is obviously next door to us, I would love to see a couple of things as ideas to throw out. One, which you folks mentioned, is some protected green space, maybe something that has benches or picnic tables or something where people in the neighborhood could gather. The other thing is that I'm struck that the town has very few residents for purchase that have single floor living. In other words, something that is particularly appropriate to folks who may be seniors or have disabilities. So, I mean, you know, there are some ranch homes. There is River Ridge. But there aren't too many residences where you have an entry like River Ridge, which is, you know, has no stairs at all. And there's only 2 buildings in town that actually have an elevator if it's a multi-floor building. So that kind of accessibility in terms of a residential situation, I think would add to the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else?
Yes, just give me 1 second here. Next one up is coming up, MSB FRCT. Can you state your name for us?
Oh, hi, Mary Botion, Madison Ave. Can you guys hear me? I have the same question as Alyssa.
Yes.
We can.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, first, I just want to say, count me in among the people that thinks the road calming so far is really terrific. It just, I'm really impressed, and I think it's turning out terrific over there. The only thing I would hope maybe we still could get to at that point in front of Dairy Delight, if they could possibly consider putting in some of those cement pylons. I don't know whether it's up to the business or it's up to DOT or for the town to encourage them, but that's such a really, really vulnerable spot. And, you know, that's just something I wanted to throw out there. Excuse me. And then the other thing is, I'm a little confused. We keep talking about the Cleveland Avenue redevelopment plan. The only thing I see in documents would be the 433 Cleveland Ave redevelopment plan, or is that what we're talking about, or a different plan?
Well, Mayor, will you address after public comment? Give the instruction.
Yeah, so was that the last of your questions, or do you have any others, and then we can
Oh, no.
start to
Oh, I
address-
have, well, yeah, I have other questions, but you know, what are we referring to? Are you able to tell me?
We're taking notes, and when you conclude your questions, we'll answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if you have any other questions, if you just want to give us all
Yes,
of them,
give
and
us
then we'll
your-
just respond to all of them at one time.
Okay. Well, as far as the 433, well, let's see, Chris, go back to whatever you were referring to. You said, quote, the Cleveland plan you're talking about now, you said runs from the vacant lot straddling the catwalk. Did you say all the way down to the cul-de-sac?
That's another question? You have another one?
Okay, so we're not going to answer them as we go?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, so I'm not really sure what I'm referring to, if I'm talking about the same thing or not. But I noticed in the resolution 2023, right, when they were talking about professional services with LRK for continued redevelopment planning services on Cleveland Ave, you know, they had my property listed on there, and including that it would be, quote, part of a parking lot as part of the school. So, you know, there's a lot of confusion here. If that needs to be cleared up, whatever you're working on now, make sure you take my property off it, because I'm not looking to be a parking lot for sure. And I would definitely like to know, what Cleveland Avenue redevelopment plan are you referring to? Lastly, for the 433 plan, no one has responded regarding the
Time.
Can I have a few more minutes, because we went back and forth discussing we were going to have answers now or not?
Continue, please.
Thank you. Regarding this 433, we've sent in several concerns that the developer hasn't met their obligations. For example, on the negligent landscaping, the erosion, the 7-inch drop, that's a safety hazard there, as well as unsightly. And I think that's technically on town property. So somebody needs to come address it. And as well as, we also notified you of the fact that the sidewalk is already cracking and chipping. And so somebody needs to get that fixed, and it's not going to be the residents. We didn't put it in. It's not even a year. Please, somebody address that and let us know that will be done. And then lastly, I've tried several times. Again, the agreement said that they would be whatever shade trees they took out, they'd put in for us. I really only want one replaced, but I haven't been able to reach anybody. I tried the Shade Tree Commission several times. One person wrote back a year ago saying, well, let us know your address and we'll make some recommendations for you. And I gave the address. I never heard anything. So we've gone 2 summers roasting in the sun without that shade tree. So in the spring, I really would like to have a tree put in, please. And I'd like to have somebody please coordinate with me on that. That'd be really terrific. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, nobody else.
Okay. Seeing none, may I have a motion to close public participation?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Hill,
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch,
Yes.
Council President Kim Cho.
Yes.
Councilmember Pistonik,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas.
Yes.
All right. There was a bunch of questions. Terry, I know you can answer a huge amount of them.
I did take notes.
I
Mayor.
did too, yeah.
So the question was, what plan? We're talking about a plan that has not been drafted. It
Correct.
would be a plan, and Chris could run through after I finish articulating the locations, but I do believe the corner property, Ms. Botian mentioned, her house was in our study area, as it's currently not even zoned as a residential use at this time. It doesn't mean anything will happen to her property, and I do not believe we were proposing a parking lot ever on that site. But Chris, could you just articulate the project area we were looking at for Cleveland Avenue again?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just pull up a map just so I'm doubly short.
Yeah.
This goes back into 2021.
Professional.
Yeah, so it is the properties from the vacant lots straddling the catwalk all the way to cul-de-sac, including the Ms. Botan's property. That's been in the concept planning for the contracting purposes to develop a plan, which has not been created. That's why we're doing this for the third time.
As yet to be created,
Yeah.
redevelopment plan.
That's why we're having a conversation.
And this basically, I don't know if Ms. Botan was here when we talked about that at the beginning of the meeting.
I feel like we did, but again, this is like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yes, the property's in it, and I could certainly say from a planning perspective, we would not want to do a parking lot there. If anything, just retaining the.
We wouldn't want to do a parking lot either.
You got enough parking. We would retain the residential use, unless there's an idea that Ms. Botan wants to share with us. I'd be happy to consider it.
And then
There was those
the
questions.
cul-de-sac, we answered the
Yes,
plan
so
going
all the way
down,
down to
yeah.
the end, yes.
And
I think that
then
addresses 3 questions.
no parking lot. She mentioned the landscaping.
Yes.
That's something that you can look
I
into.
am
Terry,
aware
you'll
of
get
that.
back.
Just be advised that even though the school is complete, the project is
It's
not
not.
yet complete. There are areas within the school building, I believe there are religious study areas
Right.
and so forth that are, so that project is not closed out, even though from the outside it looks done. So we're aware that there are some things that are likely need to be finished as part of our agreement. I'll make sure we look at those matters that Ms. Botian just mentioned, including the shade tree. Our shade tree committee would not be involved in making sure that the redevelopment agreement gets implemented and the trees get planted. And I apologize if an email was directed to me and I missed it, but we will certainly look back on that and make sure all the items that need to be addressed by the redeveloper of the school
Right.
property get addressed. Obviously, when there's no snow on the ground and, work can commence on anything that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and I think the CO has not been issued yet.
No,
The
even
temporary
though
has.
it's a temporary CO, certificate of occupancy, so that they could open the school portions, but I don't believe the remainder of the building is fully complete, and nor have we kind of
Finish up.
given the
punches.
final certification of completion
Yeah.
for the redevelopment agreement purposes.
So I'll be helping the
Compliance.
borough to do the inspections for the CO,
Mhm.
and I'll do basically the same type of inspections again to assist Terry on closeout to be done projects so they can get a certificate of completion. So I'm glad we're hearing this.
But I appreciate those points and we'll certainly, anything that was
We'll address that.
was supposed to have been done and hasn't held up, we'll look at it and get it addressed.
Okay, good. And it's Shade Tree, Councilmember Hershey or Shade Tree?
Yeah, I'm Shade Tree. So if there's,
There's a
The
request for a
trees were
tree.
part of the agreement.
Oh, the
so-
tree was, it
Yeah,
was in the
so-
envelope.
So it's
Okay,
not a
so
shade tree
It's
matter.
not a shade, okay.
It is
so
a
it's in
shade
the- it's in
tree
the
matter,
envelope.
but
say,
it's not a
we're
shade
ready
tree
to plant trees. Let's
Shade
go.
We're
tree
not
tree
finished, we're
matter.
not finished,
I
we're not
believe
finished.
it's
The
in the
punch
plan
list is
that
not
they
done.
are installing the trees, But
That's
we'll
cool.
certainly consult with shade trees.
I'm ready whenever you are. guys. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right, I think we addressed the questions.
So hopefully.
More to follow up on, that's all.
That was all.
Yeah, that was all. of
Yes,
them.
I think we got them all.
Yeah.
Carriers.
All righty. And now we're gonna move to executive session. May I have a motion to adopt 26-2-26-71 executive session, negotiation on 308 Raritan.
So, second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Hale,
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch,
Yes.
Council President Kim Cho Han.
Yes.
Councilmember Pistonik,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas.
Yes.
And now we're gonna adjourn, and may I have a motion to adjourn into executive session?
Second.
We will not be coming back to a public open session after we finish with our executive sessions. Thank you all and good night.
You know, we need to go in there
We're
because
gonna need to go in there.
Joe's stuck in Florida. He was
Yeah.
prepared. He couldn't get
Yeah,
it
that's
taken
why we
out.
gotta do the Zoom.
So I gotta get it set up in there. I'm just texting him now.
Say,
We're
we're
heading
ready.
in.
My husband's stuck in Vancouver.
Oh, really? Hey, actually, if you don't mind hanging, it might be good. Just, yeah, there you go. Not too, but yeah, I think it might be good to have you here.
It's better than be stuck in Mexico.
That's true. I think, yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. That's crazy.
That is.
Yeah. Right? It's so scary.
We won't even have our avocado.
Mexico.